Welcome along to the last edition of Southland and NZ Sport. Now, 19 years ago, the very first guest I ever interviewed on a sports show on our channel was an up-and-coming referee by the name of Paddy O'Brien. It was at Rugby Park Stadium. Well, we're back here at the same venue with the same guest for our last chat. Back in 96, Super 15 had just started as it was then, or Super 12.
Yeah, I think I left the police in 95, worked here at Rugby Southland, and then moved on to Sports Southland, and then on to full-time refereeing. So, yeah, Super Rugby commenced in 1996.
And you were in charge for the very first game?
Yeah, that's something which actually stays in the memory bank. You know, do a lot of games, but that's one that does stay in the memory bank, and that was in Palmerston North. First ever game of professional rugby in the world. The Blues versus the Hurricanes, and the Blues came out the winners from memory, and the first try ever scored in Super Rugby by Alama Iramia.
That was my next question. Yeah. So you've got a great memory. Other memory was of a great crowd because it was a new concept and people took to it straight away.
Yeah, it was hyped up. It was huge. You had all the razzmatazz, the dancing girls, the fireworks, and the teams run out amongst the smoke, and it was like it was the creation of what we have now.
Do you remember it being a level up on other domestic football you'd referee?
Yeah, the pace of the game. What clearly, and it's even quicker now, but the players had more time in the gym, they had more time getting fit. Full-time athletes compared to what they were in the past, where they played what was called the NPC in those days, and obviously were part-time.
You were full-time in the gym as well, were you?
Oh, not in the gym, but out on the road. Myself and Colin Hawke were the first two referees to be signed on. Big move for us as well, because all of a sudden, it's something we look back on now. We were the blueprint for referees after us. We had to find out, what do you do with your time? How do you become full-time? So that was a challenge in its own.
Things go around in circles. I think that same year you'd been to Hong Kong for the Sevens, and you've just got back from Hong Kong at the Sevens. Not a lot changes in some respects.
No, I mean, it's been a roller coaster. I've done the full circle, and what has that been for about the last 20 years? So, rugby's been my life for the last 20 years, and it's been fantastic.
Well, you look at Hong Kong was the Sevens tournament, perhaps the only one people took much notice of in those days, but now it's a full circus, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, you've got some really big tournaments. Dubai is huge. London's becoming they get 75,000 on day one in London now at Twickenham, so it's become a very big tournament. To me, Hong Kong's still the best, though. It's sort of the crown jewel of the Sevens. But now leading into Rio in 2016, it's really gained momentum, and gained a lot of momentum in the women's series, because women's 15s, you can say what you like, is not the greatest product at times, but women's sevens is something else.
And it's a development area for referees, isn't it? It's a stepping stone. Do you still see it as that?
We have amongst I've got 13 referees at the moment, of which I'm going to take 12 to Rio. We started with 24, and over the 4-year cycle we've eliminated them. For some, they'll go on to be Super Rugby refs. There's 3 of them doing Super Rugby now. There's a couple doing Europe, and then I've got 4 or 5 specialist Sevens refs, and that will be their career. It'll be on the Sevens circuit, but a huge career for them now. We do 10 stopovers on the men's and 6 on the women's, so it is a full-time commitment.
You look at a Super Rugby game now and compare it with that first game. In terms of laws and interpretations, is it radically different?
I think what's different is the way they play the game. I mean, you've got a lot better defence systems. There's just not the space. I went up to the Highlanders Crusaders game, Highlanders Crusaders game earlier this year. I hadn't been for a long time. I could not get over the lack of space on the field, and you've got forwards out amongst the backs, etc. So it's a different product. Whether it's a better product is up for people to make up their own mind. I mean, when we first started, it was pretty loose, and you used to have, up north I call it pyjama rugby. But I still think the beauty we have down here, we've still got players with multi-skills, and we still do see a damn good product when they want to play.
A few years ago, penalty try a year was a thing. Now it's once a week. Is that an area of concern for you?
Look, I'm old school. I don't like the TMO, to be honest. I think a referee should be out there making decisions, and we should live and die by them. But on the counter argument of that is that if they get it wrong, coaches are saying, well, everyone else at home could see they were wrong. Why can't you? So it's evolving. I think you'll find that what they call the TMO now will evolve even further after the World Cup. But I'd like to see the referee take more responsibility for decision making rather than going upstairs and putting it back on someone else.
Now you're leaving a legacy in refereeing. Your son's doing a very good job. You must be very proud of the way that he's progressed.
Yeah, he's done very well on the Sevens circuit, especially. He'd be one of my leading, top 3 or 4 Sevens refs in the world, and just starting to learn and apply his training out in Super 15. So, I mean, he's got a wee way to go in Super 15, but he's certainly keen and on the right track to doing well.
What about around New Zealand, the depth of referees coming through? As you say, you started it off. Do you look around and see a lot of promise?
Yes and no. It's again a generation change. I think you got Glenn Jackson and Chris Pollock going to the World Cup. We've got a young fellow, a couple, Nick Bryant, Ben O'Keefe, that are doing well on the Super Rugby. Underneath that, I'm not so sure. So it's a worry all around the world. It's not just New Zealand about the recruitment and retention of referees. So they're not dropping out of trees.
In Australia, like Steve Walsh retires out of the blue almost. They haven't got a lot of depth to cover that sort of experience.
No, they haven't, and they've had to rebuild, and that's part of where Matt's involved. It's not only that, probably the country that's producing the best referees at the moment is South Africa and France. But underneath that, I mean, every other country, your England, your Wales, and the ones that used to have a lot of depth are all struggling as well. So it is a concern for rugby going forward. But having said that, it goes in cycles. So I'm sure there'll be someone put their hand up.
It's a great career, isn't it? I mean, I think Glenn Jackson's proving that he's had two careers, and other players may consider a similar line. Yeah,
exactly. And it's got to be something that's a passion, and Glenn's got a real passion for it. And you only got to watch him when he referees; he loves it. Technically, he's still learning, but he loves the game, and it's in him. So rather than go coaching, he decided to go down the referee path. So I think you're right that we may find more people doing that.
Look at the Sevens game and how it has evolved, and what's wonderful is that it's no longer just a New Zealand-Fiji contest. We saw New Zealand get beaten by Canada, Australia by Portugal. You've got the world taking part.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think the other thing that's great about it, I mean, let's be honest, the Rugby World Cup itself will be won by one of 6 teams. The Olympic gold medal, no one knows, because as you say, Canada beat New Zealand the other day, USA beat South Africa. You've got all those types of scenarios happening. The women, USA and Canada, are very strong. The woman, although New Zealand is strong there as well. It's 7 minutes each way, bounce the ball stuff. So there's a lot more room for upset in a game of sevens than there is in 15s. I think it's another one of the attractions.
And of course, maybe a handful of years ago, we'd have said New Zealand was odds on for gold, definitely a medal. We've got to be a bit careful about that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Gordon does with his team, how many All Blacks are available, how many he picks compared with the squad he's got now, who are, have done very well considering what the players he's brought in to actually have qualified. I think they're safe now with 2 tournaments to go, that they've qualified the team for the Olympics. And after the Rugby World Cup, my understanding is some players will be available, so we could have an all-stars team. And if anyone will get them ready for a gold medal, it'll be Gordon Titchens.
What about the event itself as a showcase for sevens? You don't get a better platform, do you? You're going to get full crowds and huge TV coverage. Yeah,
TV coverage is huge, you're right, and that's going to be the exposure. I don't think people realise, a lot of people I talk to say, the sevens are a bit of a circus. They need to go up north and just see what's happening in countries which we don't associate with rugby. If you go to the Swedens, the Portugals, the Brazils, these people have really, really got into it. And the thing about sevens, which I love, is that it's a simple game. We can actually apply the laws of the game as referees. The players adapt to it. You've only got 4 people at the breakdown, so it's easy to educate the people who are watching it, saying this is a penalty, this is not a penalty, whereas at 15s it's very difficult. So I think you'll find in the next couple of years the growth of sevens is going to be huge.
And the nice thing about it too is a lot of aspects of 15s are still there. The set pieces still have a place to play.
Yeah, they do. I mean, we don't get too concerned about scrums and lineouts. The ball's still going to be thrown in straight to the lineouts. The scrums still have to be a platform, but it's a restart, and the game doesn't stop. I mean, the thing about 15s, you have a penalty, it can take up to 1.5 minutes to take it while they decide what they're going to do. Sevens, they tap, they're gone. You wouldn't even know the penalty's been given. So that's what the crowd like. It's just razzmatazz in action.
Well, we know our future at Q. What about yours, Paddy? How long are you going to sustain this? Because the travel must be just quite tiring at times. Yeah,
the travel's horrendous from at the moment. I just don't stop between now and June. But having said that, between June and the end of the year, it's a lot quieter. I love the job. It's the only thing I don't like about it is the travel. So I'll weigh that up, but I can see myself, I'm a full-time employee. I get a lot of fun out of the sevens. I get a lot of satisfaction out of seeing young referees doing better. I've got a fantastic team working for me. Look, I haven't reassessed it after Rio, but I think I'll probably have another couple of Olympics after that in me, Tom.
Well, thank you very much for being the first and last guest on Southland and NZ Sport.
Real pleasure, and all the best for the future, Tom.
So that wraps up our final show, and it's a fond farewell on behalf of everyone that's worked on South today, and of course all their predecessors, and we wish you all the very best for the future. Goodbye.